You guys are going to seriously love this pork tenderloin recipe because not only is it packed with so much flavor, but it is incredibly easy to make. It's one of those recipes that just looks fancy, especially when it's all sliced up. It tastes amazing with the sweet and spiced honey garlic glaze, and it's done in less than 30 minutes, which makes it perfect for any weeknight meal. However, I will say that this is a favorite during the holidays and especially for Christmas and New Year's when I have family and friends over. So let me show you how to make it. To get started, you'll need 2 1-pound each pork tenderloins. Pork tenderloin is a very lean cut of meat, almost more similar to a boneless, skinless chicken breast in terms of leanness. And that means that it can easily dry out. But if you follow the steps in today's recipe, I guarantee you that not only will you end up with juicy rather than dry meat, but that the flavor will be so incredibly delicious that you'll wish for far more leftovers than what you'll probably end up with, since everyone will go back for seconds and thirds. Now, if you have my cookbook, you may have already tried my paprika rubbed pork tenderloin, which has gotten rave reviews. And this recipe is similar in that it's a combination of a simple dry rub plus a sauce. But this version is a bit sweeter with the sticky honey garlic glaze, and I can't wait for you to try it. The seasoning is a blend of 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. Stir that together and then sprinkle it all over both sides of the pork tenderloin and use your hands to make sure that it's rubbed in. I should also mention, as a friendly reminder, that it's always best to let your meat come to room temperature a bit before cooking. So many people just toss something straight from the fridge into a hot pan, and the problem is that if it's really chilled, it will cook unevenly, with the outside cooking faster than the cold inside. So a little resting time before cooking really does make all the difference. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then let's make the sauce. It's a combination of half a cup of honey, and I'm very fortunate that I got some fresh honey from my cousin's beehives, so I'm using that today. A 1/4 cup of tamari soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and 6 minced garlic cloves, because you guys know I'm a big fan of garlic. There's just 4 ingredients in this sauce, but there's a whole lot of flavor that can come from a few simple ingredients. So stir that all together until it's well mixed, and then set that over by the stove because now it's time to sear the pork tenderloins. Add 2 tablespoons of oil to a pan over medium-high heat, tilt that around to make sure that the bottom is well coated, and then add the pork tenderloins. Sear them so that they're nice and browned on all sides, which should take about 4 minutes or so in total. Once they've got that golden brown sear, turn off the heat and add the sauce. The sauce may sizzle and bubble a little bit from the heat of the pan, but if you've turned off the heat, it should die down pretty quickly. Then use tongs to turn the pork in the sauce until they're fully coated. Transfer the pan to the oven and roast the pork tenderloins for 15 to 20 minutes or until an instant read thermometer reaches 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Mine are about 136 degrees Fahrenheit today, but by the time I move camera gear around and get things ready for the next shot, they'll be that perfect 140 degree temperature. Remove the pan from the oven and then use tongs to transfer the pork tenderloins to a plate and let them rest for a few minutes. And while they're resting, you're gonna reduce the sauce into a thicker glaze ever so slightly. You can of course keep the glaze as is. It's usually just a bit thinner at this stage, but if you simmer it for another minute or 2 on the stove, it will reduce down and thicken up. Just be forewarned that it does thicken as it cools as well, so it really doesn't need much time on the stove at all. And then move that off the heat to a cool burner. After the tenderloins have rested for a bit, slice them up about a 1/2 inch or so thick. I usually get about 12 slices per tenderloin, so this recipe serves about 6 people with 4 slices each. But that's also assuming your guests have some willpower, because not gonna lie, I had more than 4 slices right after filming this. Transfer your sliced pork tenderloin over to a serving plate, and while I started moving everything over with tongs, the reality is it's just easier to do it with your hands, and then you can fan the slices off to the side to make them prettier. Then, once that's done, drizzle the honey garlic sauce on top. As you can see, my sauce is pretty thick and glaze-like at this stage, but it's also cooled a bit from the stove. So if you're faster than me and pour it right away, it might still be a little bit looser. That's how it was for me the first couple of times I tested this recipe, but filming recipes while I'm making them always slows me down a little. Now, if you're serving this up for Christmas, New Year's, or Easter, or another holiday, you can add a few sprigs of fresh thyme for garnish. And pro tip, if you're ever trying to decide which herb to use for garnish, just go back to an herb that's used in the recipe. We used dried thyme in the recipe, so fresh thyme is a perfect option to place on the side. This recipe is so unbelievably delicious, and I just know you guys are gonna love it as well. In terms of serving, because I always get asked about side dishes, I thought I would serve it up today with my mashed cauliflower and garlic sauteed spinach to carry those garlic and herby themes throughout. But this would be delicious with mashed potatoes, green beans, and so many other sides as well. However you serve it up, just make sure to always drizzle a little extra sauce on the plate, because once that sauce oozes into the side veggies, well, let's just say it's one way to ensure all of the veggies get eaten up on the plate. I am definitely ready to dig into this. I've been eating leftovers for the last couple of weeks as I tested this recipe. Never got sick of it. It is so good. And let's make sure to get all that sauce on it. Amazing, amazing, so good. And I just love how the sauce gets into the sauteed spinach and the mashed cauliflower. It's like this saucy, sweet, spiced mix. It's so good. I think one of the things I love most about this recipe though is just how easy it is to make. You can also prep the sauce and the spice rub ahead of time. So whether this is for a family or it would make a great date night meal as well, because you could prep those items ahead of time, and then when your date is over, you can quickly season the pork all over, sear it up, pop it in the oven, the sauce is ready to go. It's just like a very, very quick, easy, and impressive meal. And as I mentioned, you can definitely meal prep this. It will stay good for about 3 to 4 days in the fridge or up to 3 months in the freezer. It really is versatile with a whole bunch of different side dishes, and as a reminder, I have lots of different side dish options on my website, so make sure you check that out. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends, and I will see you again in the next video.